Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're still here with SFO Grimhammer. The newest patch, Kingdoms and Wildlands, releases later today. And we need to check out the last bit of changes, which is for Bretonnia. There's actually quite a few. So we're going to start off with Leon Leonka, go over his faction and lord effects, and then check out any campaign stuff. So the first thing is Unique Technologies, Landmark, and Green Knight Skills. Valor, a new resource, is additionally earned in battles and units have access to more Heroism X. Errantry missions with extending rewards. Hero recruit rank +5 for Paladins and Sons of Bretonnia. The Sons were introduced in a previous patch, and Army ability Lion of Bretonnia. When it comes to the Lord effects, we have the following. Chivalry +5 per turn. Rowan starts with all knightly vows unlocked. Upkeep -10% for Lord's Army. Passive ability The Blessing of the Lady. Leadership +5 when fighting against the Warriors of Chaos, Chaos Dwarves, Demons of Chaos, and Undead and Greenskins in Lord's Army. Melee attack +5 when fighting against Warriors of Chaos, Chaos Dwarves, Demons of Chaos, Undead and Greenskins, Lord's Army. And number of uses +1 for faction army ability. So, as you might be aware, the Legendary Lords do have their own unique technologies attached to pretty much everything else. SFO had some extra technologies added for like a vanilla style Bretonnia thing, but each Legendary Lord has their own unique tree which provides buffs kind of suited around the character's lore. And these will cost you chivalry, so you're going to be using those unique resources for your faction a lot more often, which yeah, kind of works. Keep in mind that by a certain point in the campaign, you're going to have so much chivalry that you're really not going to notice spending 500, hell, even 1,000. It's going to be pretty unnoticeable to you. And yeah, the bonuses are pretty good overall. This is something that is going to give you a little bit of flavor and allow you for replayability with all the Legendary Lords. You'll also have a series of dynamic quests which will pop up naturally as you play your campaign. There'll be a few levels to them, so yeah, it's actually kind of cool. It gives you that roleplay aspect as a Bretonnian knight, going on quests, picking up some special items and getting some buffs, which can be very useful to you. This is a really cool system which, to be honest, should be in vanilla, let's be honest there. Alright, let's look at Albrecht, and obviously there's a few changes that are affecting Bretonnia as a whole, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So, faction effects, unique technologies, landmark, and green knight skills. Bretonnia Navy construction, Albrecht Horde Army, he's a pseudo-horde. Recruitment duration -1 turn for Bretonnian knight units, minimum of 1 turn. Immune to High Seas, Rift, and Storm attrition, and army ability Chosen of Manan. When you go to the Lord effects, we have the following. Chivalry +10 per turn, melee defense +5 for Peasant Mob, Men-at-Arms, and Spearmen-at-Arms units in Lord's Army, melee defense +10 for Knight of the Realm units in Lord's Army, upkeep -20% for Knights of the Realm units, Lord's Army, and number of uses +1 for faction army ability in Lord's Army. Pseudo-Horde for Albrecht, it makes a lot of sense. It's actually a big shame that Creative Assembly don't use this mechanic a lot. It's really good. Here you'll be able to get a bunch of bonuses for your army, make them really powerful. There are some faction-wide effects too, and recruit some troops on the move. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's really cool. It makes sure that you can stay mobile, especially since, well, you know, you're in Lustria. It's not really a hospitable place. A lot of factions are going to turn against you very early into your campaign, so being able to recruit whilst also pushing forward like this and getting higher tier units is quite beneficial. Seriously, if anyone from CA is listening, you need to use this function a lot more. It's great with the Vampire Coast, but it needs to be used in other locations. Now, when we look towards Albrecht's tech tree, again, there's a unique line. It follows the same kind of format as all the others. The only difference is obviously it's more focused on him, being able to do some damage to the Vampire Coast, increasing trade, even campaign movement range regained after battle, which very useful when you're stuck in a constant war and obviously you need to be pushing further. Alright, now we're going to move on to the Fey Enchantress, and this is the faction that I've been playing the most during this early access period. I've actually quite enjoyed it. So, faction effects, unique technologies, landmark, and green knight skills. Peasant economy +10 peasants available to the faction. There has been some changes to that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Diplomatic relations +50 with the Wood Elves, makes it a little bit easier not to deal with Orion attacking you. Recruit rank +5 for prophetesses and damsels. Army ability, Blessing of the Fae. Chivalry +5 per turn. Corruption -5 local province. Passive ability, the Blessing of the Lady. Attribute, causes fear. Melee attack +25 for Peasant Mob units, Lord's Army. And number of uses for the faction army ability +1 for Lord's Army. Again, another unique tech line which focuses a little bit on administration. I've been able to build much taller and wider at the same time when it comes to this faction than I have with the other Bretonnians. I've kind of liked that because I like building big empires. I don't know if you follow my streams and stuff, but I tend to do like 400 turn plus playthroughs of stuff. And that's also the case when I'm not streaming, so being able to get a lot more growth coming in really quickly allows me to be able to just build a massive empire. And that's further enhanced with the unique rights that the Fey Enchantress has access to. Now, it's a pretty interesting system here, because you can see that 2 are active and 2 are not. Her mood will change, essentially, over the course of your campaign, and that will determine which rights are active and which ones aren't. I kind of like the system. It's a bit of RNG. I know a lot of people aren't too keen on that, but it does make a lot of sense for her. Again, from the very beginning, you know, a little bit of growth extra. You're able to boost up. They're active for 10 turns, have a 20-turn cooldown. But yeah, a lot of it's focusing on administration. There is some stuff on combat too. Yeah, it's a really cool system. I actually really do like this. And finally, we have Réponse de Lyonesse. We have the following faction and lord effects: unique technologies, landmarks, and Green Knight skills, higher post-battle loot, lower building income, lords gather water supplies in settlements, diplomatic relations, minus 100 with vampire counts, Vampire Coast, and Tomb Kings, experience gain plus 100% for all non-knight units, unique hero, Henry Le Massif, army ability, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, it's French, lord effects, chivalry plus 10 per turn, physical resistance 10% for all peasant units, Lord's army, casualty replenishment rate plus 10% for non-knight units in Lord's army, leadership plus 5 for peasant units for all armies faction-wide, ability Halo of Maidenly Wrath, and finally plus 1 number of uses for the faction army ability for the Lord's army. I think the French thing just really threw me off there. But yeah, let's carry on. And then obviously we got Réponse's unique technology, which focuses very heavily on war. If you want an aggressive campaign with Bretonnia, you're probably going to want to play as Réponse, as you can get pretty tasty in battle, making Réponse even more terrifying, as there is a lot of boosts to her army. Like, for example, one of them is physical resistance 1% per rank achieved, faction leader's army. So you can have quite a very physical resistant army just for Réponse, just pushing in to deal with Scarbrand, which is going to be kind of needed, and yeah, a lot of damage. Okay, so here's some other changes. There's been some changes with Bretonnia, how it works overall. Chivalry focuses on the usual stuff like the knights or the lords and so on, boosting up the capabilities of your knights too, whereas the peasant economy focuses wholly on peasantry stuff. So your peasant units, your economy, so there's clearly a distinction there, and the idea is just to separate them, which I kind of like. It's still very lore friendly, it fits with the theme, and it's just makes you balance a little bit more. Plus, the more chivalry, the stronger the knight. It just makes sense, whereas the different levels of peasant economy will affect you in different ways, and that's up to you to decide how you're going to have it affect your faction and your gameplay. Now, Valor is a new resource that you're going to be getting. It's mostly gained from like battles and vows, and you can use it on just heroism, which is a new mechanic. We're going to be talking about that in a bit later, and technologies. The idea about this is adding a little bit more, because Bretonnia is, I mean, it's a decent faction. They've just not had a lot of love over the years. When it comes to technology, it's focused around the tech that you already have. Well, you know, that has been there since like vanilla or recent SFO patches, and the idea is just to kind of spread that out a little bit. I kind of like this. It means that you won't be cascading too much into an order tide of your own, because unfortunately Bretonnia, the way it works with terms of reputation and so on, or relation, is it cascades a lot, right? Keep in mind that all the problems that Bretonnia does have in terms of gameplay in vanilla isn't really here with SFO. So it works as a way to balance things out, so don't you worry about that. Another thing that it can be used for is unit upgrades for your knights. This is kind of cool. Now keep in mind that Leon Leonka has more options, but you can get, you know, stuff like increased melee attack, maybe a little bit more replenishment, dismounting the knights, which I think is very, very important. The idea is just to fill out everything, give you a little bit more buffs, and believe me, the dismounting thing is really, really important, because one thing that you need to know is once they dismount, they can't mount up again, which is perfectly fine. They can after the battle ends, obviously. But it's more of the case of you're doing a siege battle, right? You're defending the walls. Cavalry is not going to be useful, so if you've spent your valor or your heroism here, you'll have these dudes on the wall to be able to defend against any problems that might arrive, because, yeah, you know, the cities in Warhammer 3 are just... I mean, we've all spoken how badly we don't like the towns and stuff and the maps for sieges, because you can't really move cavalry, you can't really move a lot of units well, so this is going to make it a little bit easier. This is going to make the battles a lot better for you, and it's just going to be a lot less soul-sucking. I must admit, I've really had to use this a few times because I got into a few fights with Ikit, or even against Morga, who was just causing me problems early into my campaign. So again, very, very useful. But yeah, this patch will be dropping very soon after this video releases, after Venrus's live stream, so you guys should check it out after you're done here. I think the stream starts about 2 hours post this video release. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's have a bit of a discussion and have a good day, guys. It's been a rough week, as you can imagine. See you all soon.